There are no nations competing in the Eurovision Song Contest. It is broadcasters who are taking part, not nations. In the Eurovision Song Contest, broadcasters are competing against each other on behalf of their nations. While in the show they say,
United Kingdom!
It is technically the BBC and not the UK who is participating. That's the same with all participants in the Eurovision Song Contest. Each entry gets sent by a broadcaster from their nation. For example, RAI from Italy, ARD from Germany, Khan from Israel, and SBS from Australia. 38 broadcasters took part in the Eurovision Song Contest 2025. Every participating broadcaster is representing a nation, but they are not their state.
To understand this construction better, let's take a closer look at the organization behind the contest, the EBU.
The EBU, that's short for European Broadcasting Union, is an alliance of public service broadcasters. To clarify, the members of the EBU are not nations, but broadcasters, meaning television or radio stations. Specifically, EBU members have to be nationwide public service broadcasters.
Nationwide means that each member broadcaster has to offer their program to their whole nation. Like really every household should be able to receive them.
This rule, of course, excludes all kind of regional broadcasters.
Public service means that commercial TV and radio stations also cannot become members and neither can directly state-run media.
Members have to be financially and politically independent from their state and other organizations, especially from sports organizations. They can be state-owned, however. The criteria public just means that they may not get their funding from the state directly. And there are different constructions how to do this. In Germany, for example, there is a dedicated organization just for collecting this money, the Gebühreneinzugszentrale GEZ. In some other nations, people pay their amount for public media together with their electricity bill. It is also considered independent if there is a tax that the state collects and then passes on to the public media directly, as long as this is written in law and politics are not free to decide if they give the money or not.
These rules come from the history of the EBU, founded shortly after World War II in 1950.
The world had just experienced how important independent media is, and they wanted to make sure that independent public media all across Europe could be strung together. That's why they formed this Democratic Union of Public Broadcasters, the EBU.
Within the EBU, some television and radio broadcasts are distributed live to its members.
Most prominently, of course, the Eurovision Song Contest, but also a lot of sports programs and news coverage. From 1965 to 1999, they also organized Games Without Borders, a Europe-wide game show. Additionally, a whole range of content is shared among all EBU members, not as live streams, but in a catalog for all members to choose from.
And last but not least, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes cooperation ranging from training to technical exchanges.
There are a few more rules for membership. Besides being public and nationwide, member broadcasters must handle both news and entertainment and offer a balanced program for all sections of the population, including minorities. Their home nation also must be a member country within the European Broadcasting Area of the International Telecommunication Union or a member of the Council of Europe.
The International Telecommunication Union, short ITU, is a specialized agency of the United Nations regarding communications technology.
The Council of Europe is an international organization with 46 member states, best known for the European Court of Human Rights. It is distinct from the European Union, and many countries belong to the Council and not the EU. For example, Turkey, Monaco and Russia, until Russia withdrew their membership in 2022.
As of June 2025, the list of EBU members contains 68 broadcasting companies from 56 countries.
Besides strictly European countries, where often several broadcasters come from one nation, this list includes broadcasters from North African states like Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia, as well as Eastern nations like Turkey, Lebanon, and Jordan, and Vatican Radio from Vatican State.
While every full member is allowed to participate in the Eurovision Song Contest, not all wish to do so.
For example, the only African broadcaster who ever participated was from Morocco, sadly just once in 1980. If a broadcaster fulfills the main criteria,
Public, independent and nationwide,
but their nation does not fit the description, it can become an associate of the EBU. As of 2025, these are 31 broadcasting companies from 20 countries worldwide, including Australia, Brazil, Japan and the United States. Associated broadcasters can get invited to participate in the Eurovision Song Contest, like SBS from Australia, which means, in theory, the EBU could take a vote anytime and invite any of these to the next Eurovision Song Contest.
A third type is the approved participant of the EBU.
This very small group is for broadcasting organizations that don't qualify for membership or association, but whose participation is considered useful by the EBU. In 2025, this category contained only 7 broadcasters. A good example for an approved participant is Euronews, a cooperation of many EBU broadcasters which focuses on international news in 10 different languages.
Now these are the official rules.
But sometimes things aren't that black and white, and there are several controversies about the question if all broadcasters actually fulfill these rules.
The first issue arises around the financial and political independence.
The broadcaster from Greece, Greece Hellenic Broadcasting Corporation, has become more and more reliant on government funding since 2008. Some of their money still comes from independent sources, but the part that comes from the government keeps growing, and that opens up a way for political influence, of course.
On the other hand, a broadcaster can be financially independent but exist in a climate where no one can dare to oppose the ruling party or people.
This has always been said about the broadcasters from Belarus and Russia until they eventually withdrew their EBU membership recently. And it also seems to be true about the broadcaster from Azerbaijan, Ijtimai Television. The situation for press freedom and freedom of speech in general is quite bad in Azerbaijan overall, and of course this applies to their broadcaster too. Also, given the ongoing conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, there have been strange occurrences in regards to the Eurovision Song Contest. Sometimes the Azerbaijani broadcaster did not correctly broadcast the song from Armenia. In other years, there have been stories of people who were interrogated by police because they voted for Armenia, implying that the broadcaster gave their telephone numbers to the police, which screams to be the opposite of political independence. So we see in these cases the rules seem to be interpreted with a lot of ease.
And then in other cases the rules get applied very strictly. Some broadcasters would wish to become EBU members and participate in the Eurovision Song Contest, but they are not allowed in.
This applies, for example, to Radio Television Kosovo, a broadcaster who fulfills all criteria except that their nation is not a member of the ITU at the United Nations. This is of course because of the disputed status as a nation, and the EBU refuses to take a stance on this by accepting RTK as a member. The other example would be Monaco, which wanted to take part in Eurovision in 2021, but because the broadcaster in question was operated by a private company from France, they were not allowed to do so. By now, Monaco created a new state-owned public channel who is eligible and became a full EBU member in 2024. So let's see if they will join the Eurovision Song Contest soon. And of course, as stated in the beginning, within the contest itself, the wording is always
Artist from a nation.
The broadcasters don't even get mentioned at all. The same, of course, applies to all media and fan blogs, including ourselves. All of us will say
Person X from State Epsilon.
And that's okay, as long as it works as a shorthand for
person sent by this broadcaster representing that nation.
We just think it is important to keep the fact that it's broadcasters, not nations, in the back of your mind, especially when calling for the exclusion of a nation. Because within the EBU, it's always broadcasters, not nations. If any broadcaster were to be excluded, the other broadcasters need to take a vote upon this, and for that there would need to be some wrongdoing on the side of the broadcaster. Keep in mind, with Russia and Belarus, both broadcasters were warned within the EBU that they were losing their journalistic independence, for example, when they did not call a war a war. And then after that, the broadcasters themselves decided to withdraw their membership from the EBU. They were not kicked, they withdrew. With Khan in Israel, things are very different, because Khan is a really independent channel that often criticizes the government. So much so that the Netanyahu government has repeatedly tried to shut them down or privatize them. They are an important voice of independent journalism within Israel, and they are not their government. Anyways, it's of course okay to use the phrase
the artist from that nation.
Or
Country X has won Eurovision.
Because it's shorter and it's practical. We just think it is important to keep in the back of your mind that it's actually broadcasters and not their countries who are competing.
But what do you think?
We would be happy if you leave us a comment and of course like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we will publish more videos about the Eurovision Song Contest very soon.
Goodbye.